and bolts jobs one?
I think, well, Michael Brand's got an appropriate surname because part of this is about branding and the branding of cities. And obviously this work comes out of some of Richard Florida's ideas around cities, which has been really, very productive area in thinking about how cities might become attractive to a global kind of workforce. But I think to go back to Terry's point, one of the ideas that's held the public's imagination around arts and culture, particularly through the 90s, is the rise of a kind of cultural nationalism, that somehow culture is important to us in an indefinable way, but it's important to us as a country. It's one of the things that holds our country together. And I think those ideas that were really prevalent in the 90s, and I think particularly of the UK in the 90s, and the kind of cool Britannia, and the really clear relationship between forms of culture, popular music, young British artists, a whole range of things that happened in the 90s. That was a really clear and obvious kind of link around economic value and cultural value. And I think that helped forge a bit of a political consensus where both parties in the UK are pretty comfortable with that kind of notion. But I guess I'm a little bit uncomfortable with cultural nationalism as the ultimate kind of horizon of value for us. I think nationalism itself is a little bit problematic, but also cultural nationalism can tend to be such a field of gravity in which all kind of forms of culture kind of circulate. And I think Culture Day is just much more complex than these national kind of spheres. It means a lot more than national identity. So I think we have to be careful of getting caught in the gravity of cultural nationalism again.
I wonder what your view is, and as you've headed up some cultural organisations where I guess the pressure is on to demonstrate to the funders, whether they be federal, state or local, that they're getting value for their dollar.
Yes, but I think we approach it in a really poor way because we think, how do you put that valuation on investment in the arts in a way that we don't have the same soul searching around investing in education or science or other research. And I think one of the things that concerns me with this discussion is that we're not saying, are we asking ourselves the right questions here? Or what are the prior questions? Because if you step back and look at the bigger issues, as we've moved from the 90s into a totally digital world, a knowledge society, you look at the balance sheet of most of our firms, most of it's now intangible assets. Right across the economy, we're struggling to say, how do we value anything? How do we value knowledge? How do we value intellectual property? How do we value tacit knowledge, the intellectual capital we can't capture?